Are you getting feedback from me? No, okay. Um, I believe the meeting will be recorded. It usually comes on that it says that.
It
And,
did, Madam Chair Lady. You're all set.
okay, and if we could have a roll call vote, please, to, excuse me, roll call of those in attendance, please.
Sure. Kayla, you want to do that or you want me to? It's up to you, young lady.
Do I just do everyone on the list?
Just go through the romper room screen and just call out their name and they'll say present or something like that. How about that, KK?
Okay. Alan Pease,
Present.
Amanda Reed,
Present.
Amber Labonte,
Present.
Bill O'Kelf,
Elfkey, present.
Elfke, Brian is
Yep.
staff, Jeff Tillison,
Jeff Tillotson, present.
Guy Cobacero,
Guy Corbacero, present.
Ollie Ford is staff, Karen Chapman is staff, Christopher Monroe,
Christopher Monroe, present.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, present.
Linda Quinlivan is staff, Mary Jo Bohart,
Mary Jo Bohart, present.
Peter Cunningham,
Cunningham, present.
Rick Ward,
Rick Wood Winchton, alternate, present.
Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, present.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt, present.
and Stacy Donahue.
Present.
Okay, thank you all so much for being here. Could I have a screen share of the agenda, please?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Okay, this meeting is held under Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, signed by the Governor Healy on March 29th, 2023, allowing local and regional governments to hold public meetings remotely or in hybrid fashion. All votes will be taken by roll call. Number 2, Glenn?
Yes, thank you. Had to find the mute button. So I'm going to hand the mic gavel right back, the microphone back to Laura in just a moment. So my little script basically says, please be advised that the chair will ask for a roll call vote to enter into an executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation against the commission. All commissioners and some MRPC employees will be allowed to remain in the executive session. Guests and some employees will be moved into a breakout room. Upon the completion of the executive session, the public meeting of the commissioners will resume, and individuals in the breakout room will then be moved back into the regular meeting. Kayla is doing our tech tonight, so she'll move probably Karen, Brian, any guest, and if I missed anybody, we'll deal with that in a moment. Back to you, Madam Chair Lady. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Via roll call vote, I am asking a motion to move this meeting into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation against MRPC. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
And I need a second?
Second.
Second,
And-
Bob Schwartz.
Okay, thank you. And Kayla, will you read the roll call vote, please?
Yep. Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Here.
Bill O'Kelf,
Aye.
Jeff Tillison,
Jeff Tillotson, aye.
Guy Cobacero,
I know he was here. Is he still on the screen?
he is not currently still on the screen.
Okay, then go ahead, please.
Jacinia Laguna,
She is a guest, Kayla.
okay, thank you. Christopher Monroe.
Yes, we'll be leaving the
Monroe,
room. Glenn,
aye.
are you taking care of the ones that are supposed to leave?
Yes, they'll be moved to the breakout room and won't be part of the executive
Sheila, you're
session.
doing that? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Laura Schifrin.
Yes,
Okay. Mary Jo Bohart.
Aye.
Peter Cunningham.
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Rick Ward.
I'm an alternate member. Guy Carpacero is present to vote.
Okay. Robert Schwartz.
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt.
Aye.
And Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Okay.
okay, so once those people are out, Glenn, you can take over.
And so I'm just going to say that when the people come back from the breakout rooms, their screens and their mics will be off. So you guys will just have to turn them back on. So I'm going to do the breakout rooms right now. Just please hold.
Just for informational purposes, when a motion is made and seconded, when we vote that motion, it's either yes or no, or aye or nay. Either one is acceptable.
Madam Chair Lady, also may I add, while Kayla does some tech stuff, this meeting will reconvene in public session after the executive session.
Correct.
If I could ask, are we recording this separately?
It's going to be one whole meeting, and then we're going to split it afterwards. So it'll
Okay.
be just for posterity's sake, but the executive session will not be made public.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
So in the breakout room, not in the executive session, will be Brian Doherty, Jasenia Lagunia, Karen Chapman, and Laura. Laura should be. So.
I can break out with them if you'd like.
No, we need you, boss.
Okay.
That's correct, Sheila.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's going to start in 3, 2, 1.
Yep. So I think we're all back in now at 7:18 p.m. And next on the agenda are the minutes of March 21st, 2024. And I'll ask for a motion to approve, a second, and then discussion.
Guy Carpacero move to approve as written.
Is there a second?
Second, Alan Pease.
Okay. Any discussion? I don't see any raised hands. Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Copacero,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Cunningham, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt, aye.
and Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much. Number 4 on our agenda is a cash schedule. Roger or Linda, who's taking that tonight?
Linda, Bob Schwartz, I'll do the cash schedule.
Oh, Bob. Thank you, Bob.
There
I'm
are
sorry.
there were two actually, one for March and one for April. I'll read the March one first.
Thank you.
Total opening balance, $772,166.65. Total receipts, $27,207.83. Total cash on hand before this warrant, $799,374.48. Balance after this warrant, is $682,383.79. On deposit for March 31st, 2024, total on deposit $676,383.79. That's the report for March. On April cash schedule, opening balances $676,383.79. Total receipts $326,865.31. Total cash on hand before this warrant $1,003,249.91. Balance after this warrant $557,243.19. Total deposits $557,243.19. Those are the two reports, March and April.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Any questions on, let's do March first. Any questions on March? Seeing none. Are there
Move to
any
accept.
questions?
I was going to say, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Madam Chair. Do you want to do them
well, we already
individually or
was
together?
none. If there were questions, I was going to do them individually, but if there are none, I'll take them both
Okay.
together, if that's okay with the commissioners.
Perfectly fine.
Okay, okay. So are there any, I didn't see any on March. Are there any questions on April? Seeing none. So if it pleases the commissioners, I will entertain the motion to accept the two cash schedules, subject to audit.
So moved, Tillotson.
Cunningham
Is there a
second.
second? Okay, very good. I didn't see any questions. So we'll go for a roll call vote for acceptance subject to audit.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Cobacero,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Bob Swartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt, aye.
and Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Thank you all. And back to the agenda. Okay, are there any guest announcements and questions? And usually this is where Mr. Cahill comes in, but he's not here tonight. Is there anyone else that you know of, Glenn?
Not to my
Under
knowledge.
5? Okay, thank you. And we'll go to number 6, administrative matters, nominating committee.
Thanks, Madam Chair Lady. So we as management are asking for nominations to volunteers to serve on the nominating committee. We actually have some folks that have already volunteered. Holly was proactive. Thank you, Holly. To ask people to serve on the nominating committee. The nominating committee's purpose is to identify the slate of officers that would serve in the upcoming fiscal year. Our fiscal year runs July 1 to June 30. In that table, the current officers are listed there from chairperson down through the 2 at-large positions. And then, if agreeable, basically the poll will be issued to the commissioners asking them if they'd like to be willing to serve in the above roles, and the results of those polls will be presented to the nominating committee when they meet at 6 p.m. Thursday, June 6th, which is basically our next meeting in early June. And what happens next is, as Kayla diligently scrolls down, because I did not commit this to memory, The nominating committee will decide on the slate of officers and present them at the meeting to be held at 7 p.m. that evening. Basically, Kayla, could you go down a little bit more, please? And there's a resolution there for the commissioners to consider tonight to appoint those three parties, Mr. Tillotson, Mr. Corbacero, Mr. Schwartz, to serve on the nominating committee. Back to you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, Glenn. You see the resolution before you, and thank you to those who volunteered. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Jeff, Guy, and Bob to the nominating committee.
Yes, so moved. Cunningham, so moved.
Thank you, Peter. Is there a second?
Second, Alan Pease.
Okay, thank you, Al. Any further discussion? Hearing,
Okay.
seeing none. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Corbacero,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Monroe, aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt. Aye.
and Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Thank you all, and thank you again for volunteering to do that. Glenn, staffing update?
There we go, finding the mute button quicker. So this is a report under 6.2.1 that you were gracious enough to allow the executive director provide authorization to hire a transportation planner within a certain budget range. And we have done that, and I promised to come back with the name. So Grace Belmont, who resides in Royalston, has been hired as principal planner in transportation department. You can see her credentials there. This ideally concludes the chapter from Brian's promotion to transportation projects director for transportation department, and this provides a successor to Brian's position. Continuing further, and I'm going to edit verbally, and then we'll take care of it later, the first sentence for the next area. We've also move forward with prior authorization from the commissioners to move forward with hiring interns for the summer season, and at least one will be working a little bit beyond the summer. And that we have Derek Alford, who's already started a couple weeks ago. We have Gregor Goodlet-Sizer and then Lauren Graham, who will start in May and June respectively. Their credentials are there. Just a quick reminder that we have altered course to try to expand more interns into the system who may or may not be future candidates for future full-time permanent positions with the organization subject to funding. And it's starting to work. At least we're getting more interns and they are of high quality. If there are any questions for 6.2.2, 2.1, I can continue on to 6.2.2 if that's okay.
Any questions from the board? No, go ahead.
So 6.2.2, thanks Kayla for scrolling, I appreciate that. So about 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago, generally mid-April, we had two planners, regional planners in the planning and development department resign and move on to greener pastures. We want to thank Jonathan Voss and Ryan Doherty for their services. We posted the availability of the two planning positions on Tuesday, April 16th. Internally, we have a policy to post internally for 2 weeks before we go and advertise externally. The deadline was May 1st. There were no internal candidates. The positions have now been advertised externally in multiple areas: MMA.org, American Planning Association, Telegram, and then we do direct mailings also. The annual salary ranges for these positions has been published from $45,000 minimum to $70,000 maximum. Basically, that covers a range of two positions. The regional planner position goes from about 45 to 55 or 45 to 60, and then a principal planner position is a step up, if you will, more of a mid-range position with more experience. That goes from about 55 or 60 to 70,000. I am respectfully requesting the authority to hire one or two regional or principal planners at the annual salary of no less than 45, not to exceed 70,000. So because things are moving so fast, I'm asking for the authority again to proceed within this budget and stay within this budget. These positions are also in the FY24 budget, and they are also in the proposed FY25 budget. And then we would come back and either A, we would name the people to be hired by the commissioners, or B, report back the names after. However you want to proceed is fine with us. We just wanted to basically try to get some people on board. I should say, the last thing I should say on this, Madam Chair Lady, for you and the commissioners, that when we advertise this externally, I believe Holly will correct me if I'm wrong, earlier this week, I think it appeared in MMA. I'm getting a nod from Holly, whether it was Monday or Tuesday, but today's Thursday, and we have 2 applicants for both of the positions. Now, I've only read credentials on one. I haven't seen the other one yet, but we'll be interviewing next week, which is a good sign. I'm hoping the economy's starting to turn, at least in the planning world, that we can get candidates again, which is very important. Karen has about 5 or so people in that department under her, and right now she's down to 3, and she has well over 20 contracts, up to 25 or 30, and that department's really under it. So we need to move forward as fast as we possibly can. And that you have the resolution before you for your consideration. And I thank you for your time. Back to you, Laura. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you scroll up a little bit on that, Kayla? Okay, so I will ask for a motion that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission approves of the Executive Director's request to hire 1 or 2 qualified persons as regional and/or principal planners to work in the Planning and Development Department within the salary range stated above, and that the names of the new employees be presented to the commissioners at their next meeting to be held on June 6, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Guy Corbacero.
Thank you. And
Schwartz,
is there a
second.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Kayla.
Alan Pease.
Any further discussion from anyone?
I was just going to say, are they going to think that we're going to feed them hamburgers every time they start their job, Glenn?
If they start by June 5th,
I think we should. I think we should. Okay, Kayla, go ahead.
And I have to say, it's nice to see people coming in looking for work. It is. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry, I have no questions at this point.
That's okay. Thank you. All righty. Kayla.
Alan Pease.
Aye.
Amanda Reed.
Aye.
Amber Labonte.
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson.
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Corbacero.
Aye.
Christopher Monroe.
Aye.
Laura Schifrin.
Aye. Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart.
Aye.
Peter Cunningham.
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Robert Schwartz.
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt.
Roger Hoyt, aye.
Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. 6.3. Who is presenting the
ma'am.
draft budget? Okay.
That'll be me. And what we're going to do here is we're going to get through the admin stuff pretty quickly. And I thank you for your support this evening, because I think a lot of us want to talk about the Devon's housing questions. So we have some information there. So 6.3, Madam Chair Lady, concerns a quick snapshot, an update on the FY24 budget. Total revenues estimated a little under 2.3 million right now. At 2.287, total expenses are just a little bit above by about 53,184, showing a current deficit of about 2.3%. In February, we had about a 9% deficit, and the deficit was well into the 6 figures. So we've been chipping away at it. Okay, so folks, why do we have a deficit as late as this time of this year? We had insurance costs that rose $30,000 above what we budgeted last June for all of this fiscal year 2024, and that 30 is a part of that 53. So we are going to be we're already doing it, but we're going to be looking a lot more closely at expenses and trying to shave those down to come up to a 0.0 surplus deficit. So we're in balance for June 30. That's where we stand. Kayla, could you show the next table, which is an 25 snapshot draft budget projection. And I believe the total revenue projected for FY24 was about 2.3 million. You'll notice a difference down there at total revenue, about 2.96 million. And that's a projection of about $500,000 or $600,000 more in FY25. Just so you know, I said it before, I need to say it publicly again. You know, about 20 years ago, we were a $1.3 million, $1.5 million, $1.7 million agency, and now we're at 2.3 to 2.9. Please be advised that these are really good days. These are like gold rush days, and we are planning, and the staff knows this, the management team knows this, that we need to prepare for a significant decrease or a crash from federal and state governments that always comes. So we are prepared to get off the sugar high in the future. So the draft, you will see more numbers at the June 6th meeting. We're projecting a little bit less than 3 million. Total expenses 2.8. For an estimated surplus right now about $83,000 or $84,000 and a projected indirect rate of about 133. These numbers will change 100 times between now and June 3rd, June 4th, when we finally finalize all the spreadsheets and the analysis of the expenses and the revenue and so on and so forth. So please be advised, this is a snapshot. This is a summary. We're not asking for any action tonight, but we do have a habit of doing a revenue estimate in February, dialing it in a little bit better in May, and doing a final budget amendment for the current fiscal year in June, and then adopting our next fiscal year's budget, so in June. That's all I have there, Madam Chair Lady.
Okay, thank you, Glenn, on that. And to that, and I'm sure mostly everybody on here is going to know because they've been to their own town meetings or whatever organizations you belong to, budgeting. The costs of insurance in particular, like you mentioned, is astronomical. It's just gone through the roof because of how the things are everywhere. Because they used to have it so that it would be where you lived and what happened in that area where you lived, but now it's nationwide. Everybody is absorbing the cost of everything that's going on every place else. So we all have to live with that. Was one of the things that came up last night at our town meeting. Same thing. That was almost the highest percentage of an expense that went up. So unfortunately, we understand it. 6.4 vacation policy.
Madam Chair Lady, the last time the vacation accrual policy was updated, I started about 25 years ago, and I think it was about 21 to 24 years ago that the former executive director, Mohammed Khan, recommended to the commissioners to tweak the vacation formula. And the tweak that you'll see in this table starting to pop up on your screen now, that's what we've had for a little over 20 years. Kayla, if you could put that table 6.4.1 in the middle of the screen, and if you look at the, date of hire up to 2 years, you're in a couple weeks. Start of 3 years to 9 years, you're accruing for about 6 or 7 years at 15 days a year, or 7 years at 3 weeks. Then you wait until year 10 to get up to the 4 years. And what I'm proposing tonight, it's an employee retention issue, bottom line, folks, and that's what the narrative here says, is to tweak the policy again. And Kayla, if you would put table 6.4.2 in the middle of the screen, and then we can go to that. Basically, we're trying to allow the employees to accrue at a somewhat more realistic rate. The date of hire up to 2 years would still remain the same. Instead of waiting till 10 years to earn up to 4 weeks, you can start earning from 3 to 5 years, you're earning 3 weeks. And then from the beginning of year 6, instead of the beginning of year 10, move that into the 4-week annual earning. And then lowering the 10 to 14 to 5 and lowering the 15, from the start of 15 years to get 6 weeks. It's been 20 right now. Now, folks, you can do whatever you want with this. Holly and I have had many discussions about formulas. Holly has been diligently going to a lot of HR seminars with Employers Association of the Northeast. That's our $2,000 a year consultant for counsel. And we've been looking at this every which way from Sunday. But the bottom line, it just comes down to employee retention. And if we could do this, I think we'll be able to keep people a little longer. And that's the gist of this. I'm going to close by saying shame on me for not looking at this more at the pixel level over the last 10 years. I really should have addressed this about 10 years ago, and then COVID hit, and here we are. So I guess that's my story. I'm sticking to it. If you would put up the resolution paragraph, please, Kayla. It basically says that if the commissioner wants to adopt it as presented in table 6.4.2, and that's my summary. Thanks, Madam Chair Lady.
Okay, is there a motion that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission hereby adopts the vacation earning accrual schedule as printed above in table 6.4.2? I'll entertain a
I'll
motion.
offer that motion, Madam Chair. Cunningham.
Hutchwoods, second.
Okay. Now discussion from the commissioners. And I think I have a couple of raised hands. Just a moment.
Yeah.
Roger and then Peter.
If you could just a quick summary of what the accumulation of vacation time, the policy is, and how much can you accumulate, and can you take it with you when you leave?
Oh, sure. Yes, Roger. I can answer that if it's okay, Laura.
Yes,
The
please.
gist of it is so I'm at 6 weeks. I've been there for almost 25 years. So I'm at 6 weeks of vacation.
Just a minute, just a minute, just a minute,
Yes.
Glenn. Sorry to interrupt. Kayla, scroll back up to the right. Right. So bottom line, you can explain from there, okay? You've got the
Sure.
hours.
No, I'm glad that.
And what
Yeah,
happens to it
table
after?
there. Yeah, sure. Having the table helps a lot. And I'll get into the broad answer, but the short, direct answer to your question, Roger, is if I'm earning 6 weeks of vacation this fiscal year, all right, I can carry over up to 6 weeks. But let's say it's June 30th and I have 9 weeks of vacation on the books, and it's June 30th and it's midnight. I lose 3 weeks of vacation. I can only carry 6 weeks forward. So that's the annual vacation accrual, fiscal year to fiscal year. This is a multi-part answer to your question. The other part answer to your question is when I leave, if I have 1 day of vacation, up to 6 weeks of vacation, because I'm earning up to 6 weeks now, then I can take that vacation time with me as time before I resign, retire, leave, or in a check, all right, for the hours that equate to the number of weeks of vacation paid as paid time. There's another part of the answer to this question. So what the MRPC has done over the last several years is we have several leave times, and this is critically important. So there's holiday leave time that cannot be accrued. There's sick leave time that you don't take with you when you leave. So that's a zero balance when you leave. We used to have comp time or compensatory time that I asked the commissioners to eliminate several years ago because to manage liabilities and overheads that you couldn't. I don't remember if you could take it with you, but it's irrelevant right now. We don't have comp time anymore. And then there's personal time, which is only it can't be you get 5 days a year for bereavement, inclement weather, and something else, jury duty, and that does not accrue annually, year to year, and you can't take the personal days with you. So the only time you can take with you, or if you don't take them before you leave, is the vacation time. So short answer up front, but I want to give you the broad answer, Roger, for all of those buckets of time, as we call them in the office, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
So Glenn, there is a vacation buyback. Is there a limit on how much on vacation buyback?
Yeah, so I've made it very public. You all know I'm planning on retiring June 30 of 2026. When I retire June 30, 2026, if I take all of my vacation from April 1 or May 1 through June 30, you won't owe me a penny if I take all my vacation time the last like 6 or 8 weeks. Okay. If I have any vacation time only on the books, June 30 midnight, then the agency owes me for any time on the books up to 6 weeks, but no more than the 6 weeks of time.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, Peter?
Yeah, no, you did. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and I would just add, Madam Chair, I would speak in favor of this motion. I think it's something, it's similar to what we do in here in town in terms of, employee policy on vacation. And, when you get to people looking at, what the features are that they are going to look at in working for the agency. That's something that's important. I think it's vacation time and how it's accrued and how it's handled. So I would speak in favor of this.
Okay, Roger. Now, Bob, you had your hand up. Is your question answered?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and then Jeff, your hand is up.
Thank you. I'm going to mess up how to ask this question. You talked about all kinds of different time off, Glenn, but I'm assuming that paid family leave is also part of the package for employees too, correct? A newborn, things like that.
Oh,
Mental
okay.
health, newborn. I can't think of the categories
Yes.
on the top of my head right now, but basically it's
I
covering
got
what's
you.
called PFML. I deal with it all the time in my
FMLA
business.
time.
So, yeah.
So Holly can answer that a little bit better. We have people take their accrued time off for sick. We have FMLA intermittent, and we follow the federal laws for that. Holly, you want to contribute to that, because that's not something that we do much. I'm just not as familiar. But we have the employee. I mean, if they have
I just
200
wanna
hours of sick time.
Yeah, Glenn, I just want to make sure that it's part of the, you touched on everyone else, but I want to make sure that that's also part of the package for people also. And I just want to make sure it's out there. I don't need anything. I don't need any more detail than that. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yes, the bottom line
I
is yes,
appreciate
they
it,
take
Phil.
sick time or another time. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay. So I think all the hands are supposed to be down by now, or did I not address somebody? Mary Jo? Did you have your hand up? No. Okay. So hearing no other discussion, we'll have a roll call vote.
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Cobacero,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Aye.
Monroe, aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Yeah, Cunningham, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Stacy Donahue,
Aye. Sorry, slow with the mute.
okay, and Roger Hoyt.
Roger Hoyt, aye.
Okay, I'll just remind everyone that if you're not speaking, to mute yourself would be helpful. Okay, so Kayla, do you want to scroll down to the next item? I think we're 6.5.
Madam Chair
Glenn?
Lady, so this is a very, very simple informational only. You'll hear about this again at the June 6th meeting on Tuesday. I issued a municipal staffing needs survey to our 22 cities and towns. Within 2 hours, I had 7 communities respond, and as of noon yesterday, 17 responses were received. 11 of our 22 communities responded. I just checked a little while ago, and we have 18 responses from 11 cities and towns. Kayla, if you just scroll down a little bit, they can see the table and they can see the communities. It says in alphabetical order, Ashburnham down through Winchendon. And then if you go way over to the right, you can see zeros and ones and twos. And the zeros and ones and twos are basically there's no response or one person responded from a community. If it's two, then 2 different officials responded. So we sent it out to the several hundreds of local officials that we have in our email access Outlook database to ask people to respond. What's the purpose? The purpose is to respond to communications that Karen and I and possibly other staff received in January, February of this year, when local officials asked us, hey, can MRPC, we don't have a Concom agent, can you supply that as a service? We don't have a town planner anymore. Can you provide planning board services to a planning board? We wanted to get, some empirical data concerning what the needs are in the community. As a quick anecdote, you're all looking for laborers for your DPW. So this survey will run the next 4 weeks. and then we can, and actually the questions are in the handouts folder. Thank you, Holly, for reminding me. They're in the handouts folder, so you can see the structure, the questions. We work in SurveyMonkey, for those of you who know that. And Kayla, if you just scroll to the end of that table, I don't think there's anything else. This is more of a, we sent it out. Wow, in 2 days, 11 out of 22 communities responded. There obviously is a need, there's an interest. What's the purpose? So once we're done collecting the data, I will ask all those people that responded and put a blast email out there to all the communities. Why don't you come to the MRPC either on an online meeting or in person or in both, and let's have some meetings and see what your needs are. If 5 towns are looking for a conservation agent, and you all think you want to get 5 different conservation agents, but if those 5 towns come to the room and say, hey, MRPC, why don't you hire the conservation agent and deliver the service? Then those are the kinds of discussions that I want to facilitate through the summer. And if we create program, we create programming. If we don't, we don't. The communities, the local officials are going to drive this conversation about what we're going to do. So this is just a heads up. Please stay tuned. If there aren't any questions, Madam Chair Lady, I can move to 6.6 and then wind it up later soon.
Okay, I don't see any hands up, but does anybody have a question? Seeing none, go ahead. Go ahead, Glenn.
Thank you, Laura. 6.6 is just a reminder, a friendly reminder. We'll have a commission meeting. It'll be held in person on June 6th. Food and beverages will be provided with our wonderful chef, Jason Stanton, and a lot of food coordinators led by Holly Ford and a bunch of other people. So it's a team effort. We did this last year. I don't remember what month. I apologize, but we want to do it again and break bread. We have some new employees. We have some new commissioners. We want to break bread with people and do this at least once a year. I'd like to have 2 barbecues, but we'll see what happens. That's just a reminder. If there aren't any questions, I can move to 6.7, where Holly's going to take over 6.7.
Yeah, quick question on the barbecue, Glenn.
Yes.
Who's that?
Yeah, it's Cunningham from Groton. Where is this going to be held, I should say?
At MRPC's office, 464 Abbott Avenue in Leominster.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, Glenn, you can go to 6.7, 6.71.
Holly, you want to take 6.7.1?
Sure, thank you. If it's okay, I'd like to also mention that next month's meeting will do hybrid so that if someone's unable to attend in person, you still can attend through the online process. I just wanted to mention that the FY25 appointment forms have been sent out to the planning boards and select boards. So you may have somebody ask if you are still interested in serving on the commission. If you haven't heard anything, if you could just follow up, we would appreciate getting the forms back by the end of June. We do understand that sometimes based on when a meeting can take place, that it can go into July. Or even later, but the earlier we have them, the better. So please watch for those coming to your mailboxes.
Okay, thank you, Holly. I know my town has received them, so hopefully it'll be put on the agendas that need to be. Okay, 6.7.2 budget amendment.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair Lady. So last fiscal year, FY23, I went to the commissioners and I asked for permission and funding to outsource a lot of grant writing tasks. I think we set a budget of 50,000. We spent south of that. Fast forward to FY24, I asked for a budget for 50 grand, and we're going to go over that, but for good reason. So this is an explanation of what's going on, why. So on September 7th, you allowed Executive Director Authority to hire Dexterity Management for grant writing services. Molly Singer's the president and CEO. Right now, Molly has several, 4 or 5, I think it's 4, grant proposals in the pipeline that total a little over $1 million, about $1,060,000. They're in there in the parentheses. Plus another one that might go into for Shirley on their behalf. I think the 100,000 for Shirley is included in the $1,060,000. If I'm wrong, Karen, please just let me know. Molly, Dexterity Management, have been providing services to Ashby, Groton, Harvard, Shirley, and to MRPC to put in a very large regional proposal for $750,760. That's a part of that $1 million. Hang on just a second. We have primarily in the planning development department, and I bolded this on purpose, we have a very high number of contracts, 33 as of today. We've never had that many contracts at the organization. We are also down 2 staff in the planning and development department. We never would have had the ability to apply for so many funds. And, you know, folks, I know you know this, but I just have to say it for the record. That's the name of the game. By statute, we deliver services. What does that mean? You got to have the money to deliver the services. The money comes from the federal government, state government, entities, and local contracts. Occasionally get a private sector nonprofit contract, but we're always having to sing for our supper. With so many contracts, so much workload that increased so much over the last couple of years, we didn't have time to write grants internally. We outsourced the grant writing. Molly's done a bang up job to do that. We're on track to exceed 50,000 to go to 80,000. We talked to Molly, Karen, and I a couple of days ago, so to get all this work done. I do believe that if we spend up to $80,000 in a contract to apply for over $1 million, and there's more grant writing that she's doing beyond the $1,060,000, even if you only get a third of that, or 320 at a ratio of 80,000 to 320, that's a 4-to-1 return on investment, and we never would have been able to obtain the 320, let's say, and I'm using fictitious numbers here. I think the ROI and the ROI is good on this one. I'm respectfully requesting an amendment be authorized by you that I can sign an amendment beyond the $50,000 contract to go up to the $80,000 contract. And that's the gist. Thank you, Laura.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'll entertain a motion that in accordance with the information presented above, the Montechusett Regional Planning Commissioners hereby approves of an increase in the amount of funds for the MRP Dexterity Management Grant Writing Services Agreement from 50,000 to 80,000. I believe this
So
is.
moved, Guy Corbisero.
Okay, and a second?
Second to Alan Pease.
Okay, and so as a note to it, in other business, please be advised that FY budget amendment will be proposed at the June 6th meeting of the commissioners. So any other questions for Glenn in reference to this? And Karen, do you have your hand up?
I do, Madam Chair. Thank you. I just wanted to poll any of the commissioners who have worked with Molly, if you have any feedback for us.
Okay, just, I don't know if you can make your volume.
Yeah, I can't figure
You're
out
not
what's
as,
wrong with my.
okay, all right. I didn't know if it was just me or if everybody else might not hear you as well. Any questions for, or anybody have any comments or feedback for Karen regarding the grant writer?
Yeah, Alan Pease here, Ashby.
Okay, Ellen.
Yeah, we worked several times with Holly. She put a list of grants, one of them being for that Grange building that I think I was talking with Bob Cunningham about earlier.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was really instrumental to us in being able to apply. She filtered out the ones that would apply to us. And so we weren't lost in the woods of Grantville trying to figure out what applied and not. So it's been very helpful.
Thank you, Alan.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I'd just add, I guess, sort of add on to what Alan said. It really is a very valuable service. It's one of the more essential things I think we do as a regional planning commission to assist communities and the various towns and stuff with grant writing. So I think it's well worth supporting.
Okay. Anyone else?
Madam Chair, can you hear me now?
The same as I could before, but I can hear you. Did you want to say something else?
No.
Okay. All right. If there's no other comments on this, we can take a vote on the resolution. Kayla?
Alan Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Guy Copacero,
Aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Cunningham, aye.
Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt, aye.
Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Kayla, can you scroll up now? Okay, department updates. Who is doing 7.1?
That would be me in place of Jason. Jason didn't give me any updates to report tonight, so no new
Okay,
updates at this time.
already. 7.2, I believe that's you, Karen.
Yes, but you can't hear me.
Can everyone else hear her?
No,
No.
No.
I mean
Not really.
she's faint.
Okay. I'm not very good technically myself. I just know that I can increase my speaker button, but are you not able to do that? To raise the volume? I know we'd all love to hear from you. Well, now you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 That's better?
Much better.
Yes. Perfect. Yes, much better.
Sorry.
No, that's all
So
right. You got it.
7.2.1 MBTA 3A warrants information only. I just wanted to let everyone know that Harvard passed their MBTA communities bylaw and map and overlay districts a couple of weekends ago. Yay!
Yeah, exactly. Yay.
Our departing regional planner, Jonathan Voss, worked with Harvard and went to their town meeting, and it was a great win.
Absolutely. Jonathan was a superstar. We totally appreciated his help. Thank you.
Yes. And the city of Leominster, we have a petition before the city council on May 20th for them to pass their MBTA communities, which is good because their deadline is this December. We're also working with the town of Shirley to get it on their fall town meeting. And the others would be next year. So that's an update on MBTA. Anybody have any questions?
I think Townsend is
Oh,
by
yes,
this
I'm
December.
sorry. You're going to fall town meeting too.
Yeah. Yeah, because our deadline is December 31st.
Next year.
Oh, of 25? I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. Karen and I are from the same town. Okay. Thanks, Karen. You had me worried there for a minute.
No problem. 7.2.2 July bill proposed changes to Devon's information only. Glenn, do you want to talk about the email that you got today? Or do you want
Sure.
me to
And
read it? Or?
well, I tell you what, can we tag team this, Karen? I can say that I did reach out to Metropolitan Area Planning Council, and I just have a pop-up from Holly. I put a copy of the email in the folder. So if you go to the handouts folder, thanks to Holly, you can find an email that I received from Leah Robbins of MAPC. So I asked her what the status of the Devon's removal of the housing cap bill, essentially. And she basically got back to me, and I'll just summarize the email in case you don't have it on the screen. It's H4459. The bill would remove two sections related to Devon's, remove the limits on development of commercial and residential properties. And the second would require creation of a working group on housing production. And in that email, Leah provided the sections of the relevant bills. This is obviously um, uh, a relevant, or if not a huge issue for the Devens communities, not the least of which would be Harvard. And so that's the information that we received last night. Kayla, thanks for popping that up on the screen. I appreciate that very much. So it came to us because Stacia put it on our radar screen. We did some research. We got back. The newspaper articles were interesting, but they basically kind of summarize what's in the language here. This language was put forward in the Economic Development Bill. It's called something else. It's Economic and Technology Development or something put forth. It's a bill filed by the governor. Karen, tag team, can I turn over to you? And then I'd love to hear from, I think we'd all love to hear from Harvard and other communities. I'm going to mute. Thank you.
Yeah, the concern I have about this is what Stacy brought up last time, is Harvard has to educate all of the kids that end up being in Devens, and Air and Shirley have a piece of that too. So I know, Stacy, this is not news to you, this email, but I wondered if the state has reached out to Air, Harvard, or Shirley.
I'll speak for Harvard. Our Harvard Devens Jurisdiction Committee has been working really hard to try and get Mass Development to re-engage, just in discussions the last couple of years, and not a lot moving forward with them. But Dan Rivera, who was head of that group, just recently resigned, so maybe
Oh,
a change of,
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. Like it was last week. I think it's very recent. So so it might mean that there's a change there. So maybe they'll be open to communication again. I know our Harvard Devens jurisdiction group has been working with Aaron Shirley, I believe. I'm not on that group, to try and talk about Vicksburg Square and maybe getting that move forward for housing instead of what it is. And I think in the language that Kayla has up on the screen, the part that talks about the technology center zoning, that's the area that covers Vicksburg Square. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know there was talk of trying to get Vicksburg Square zoned for residential, but the lifting of the cap for all of Devens was definitely a surprise to our committee.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, I think we don't have a problem with it as much as just not being included in the conversation. I think that's really the thing that our town cares about more. It's just include us in the conversation.
Is Bill Olfke still here?
No.
No.
Jeff Tillotson?
I think Stacy nailed exactly what's been going on from our end also. Mass Development walked away. There's turmoil there. It seems to be, I mean, when I was a kid, you went to work at the MDC. It was the last stop in your career. It seems like Mass Development has become the modern day MDC, if you will. With that being said, Stacy, the frustration in Air is exactly, if not higher than the frustration in Harvard because of that. We have, just to catch you all up, we have the Devens Jurisdictional Framework Committee, which is one Stacy's been talking about, and Harvard and Air and Shirley have been meeting for years about that, quite honestly. The communities also have subcommittees to that. Harvard's got one. It's been well established and working for years. Air is now reestablishing one. It started and then it stopped and it's starting again. Now I'm sitting on that as a member from the planning board and as a member from MRPC. It's a 12-person citizen committee that has multiple seats for people who live in the Devens area now within the jurisdiction of the historical lines. The folks in Devens aren't engaging with us. I think they're engaging with Harvard a little bit. Shirley's, I'm not disparaging Shirley. This is my understanding, but Shirley is a little farther. We're behind Harvard, and I think Shirley's behind us. And I think Lancaster has said, we want nothing to do with any of this because there's South Post, which is the real big munitions destroyed land.
Right.
down near Kimball's and stuff. So with that being said, I don't think I'm telling stories out of school here. Um, we've named our subcommittee the Devens Resolution Committee, and we're looking at trying to figure out. I mean, Ayer is a town of neighborhoods. We would all fight to the death because we live in the best neighborhood in Ayer. Ours is better than yours, and the town seems to be well run, and we seem to get along. And we really want to find out from the folks who live in the Ayer area of Devens what they want in a community. Because we look at it fiscally and we're like, guys, you got 25 houses over there. You can't afford to run a wastewater treatment plant. Just 2 salaries for level 7 licenses are going to kill you guys. So there's some, we don't know where it is. So I'm not going to go any farther than that. We are also frustrated because of mass development. And I actually was in a meeting yesterday about this. I got to remember which day and from what I understand, the cap is now unlimited cap on housing. And the other thing, which is kind of a real kick, there's 2 other pieces about Vicksburg Square. It's on the National Registry of Historic Districts, which means you got to leave it the way it is. And it's in 2 separate towns in 2 separate counties. So it's a challenging thing to think about. And I don't think, Stacy, I don't know I don't think I'm telling any stories out of school, but we're frustrated. We want to go forward. We want the folks who live in this area to recognize that we live in individual, this is me speaking, we live in individual communities, but we have to start thinking more regionally. Our water is going to become a regional resource. Our sewer is going to become a regional resource. Our electricity is going to become a regional resource. There are things that are becoming more regional. And unfortunately, we're still in a fair amount of, and I'm a carpetbagger. I've only been here 10 years. We're in a fair amount of people still fighting for the hometown I grew up in remaining the way it is. So I think we're getting through that. But right now, mass development's the big problem. They don't respond. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jeff.
I have to agree with you, Jeff and Stacy, and I think everybody, especially in the smaller communities, an hour plus away from Boston, it's almost like they don't understand the challenges that we have here to do dense populating. And where is the money going to come from? Just to run it after they decide to do what they do, after areas have been developed and need to be maintained. So I think it's worrisome. And that's why I've said for a long time that, MRPC is important to do things regionally because you're doing almost the same thing for like communities. So getting the same process going for one so that everybody understands it basically will benefit everybody in the long run. So it's extremely frustrating. I hear you exactly. And Karen, I didn't mean to interrupt your presentation.
That's okay. Peter has his hand raised.
Oh, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to vent a little bit. I mean, like what's been said already, it seems very much like it's a top-down process coming down from, from Boston without a whole lot of input at this level, and that's unfortunate. And that never really is the sign, I think, of good comprehensive planning. How is it going to work within the community? What are some of the impacts and consequences? Is there going to be money to support? Let's say kids that need, education, for the school district needs to take on the responsibility of education. There's just a lot about this that's very much, top down. And I understand, I think at that level where they are, because there is a quote housing crisis in the Commonwealth. And this looks like maybe an easy solution. Here's Devens, they got a lot of room. They got some old buildings we can fix up, create more housing. Let's do it. But the devil's in the details, and getting into that, getting down into the weeds is something you need to do. And I know Senator Eldridge, I think, has been pretty public about expressing that same sentiment that, he was kind of caught off guard about this and expressed some concern about that.
Thank you, Jeff, for your comment, for Peter, for your comments, and Jeff.
Yeah.
So just, um, I think that we've all seen that a lot. You just don't know, they don't know what you have to go through to, um, I'm losing the word, but to comply with the rules that they're going to make, with the laws that they're going to make, with the decisions that they make, because they're not going to be the ones carrying it out. And you see that all over. But as far as the housing industry goes, we were told 40 years ago that we didn't have enough housing. Since this is what I do. 40 years ago, there was not enough housing. We were behind every single year for the housing demands. In the last 3 years, now they're scrambling because millions of people have come into this country that they don't have housing for. They didn't have enough housing before. So it's like none of us know what we're going to do. Anyway, I'll get off my bench too. Karen,
Well, we could always start.
it's not easy.
So Laura, we could also start in with private equity buying up residential housing, also turning it into rental. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there that have happened in the last 40 years. But if I may, Madam Chair, and we're involved in this because we want to see MRPC, we want to see our region grow and prosper. And you touched on something, you went past it very quickly, and I think Peter said it also. You know, they're Boston 50 miles away or 40 miles away, depending on where you start from, or even farther. You know, Devon's was supposed to be the answer for manufacturing. Well, you know, Gillette's one of the biggest companies in the world. They started in Devon's and walked away. So, you know, and now Worcester's on the bounce. You know, my wife's in biotech. Her colleagues, Bristol Myers Squibb, why is Ayer doing so? How do whoever thought a $900,000 house would sell in Ayer? We can't build them fast enough.
Never.
We can't build them fast enough. So anyway, I'll get off my horse also. You know, and the other side of the coin is we recently went to. I recently wrote a letter as the affordable on behalf of the Affordable Housing Trust. Signed a letter to Markey and Warren asking for an earmark so we can build a 40B. We want it. Our town has put hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table saying we want a 40B. We want 100 units because we want our children and our other house poor people to stay in town. And we can't get it built. We're trying to. We've got the land, we've got the deal, we've got the nonprofit lined up, everything, and we can't get it done. And it's frustrating. I mean, right there's 100 units that we could do tomorrow. So I'm done with that for now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Stacy?
Yeah,
Huh?
sorry. I just wanted to toss in one more comment. And I'm sorry, I don't that raise hand feature. I do want to point out that Devon's also doesn't have a seat at any table. So I don't know if that's something that, you know, the residents of Devon's aren't really a town. So I don't know if this is something that MRPC can help with giving them a voice.
Yeah, if I may. Yeah, sorry. This is a really important point. 498 of 93 says that the communities of Lancaster, Shirley, Harvard, and Ayer will solve this problem. When it was written in 93, no one saw people living in Devon's. They think of themselves as the community of Devon's, even if they live in a Shirley portion, a Harvard portion, an Ayer portion. No one will ever live in the Lancaster portion, we've discovered. But so they see themselves as their own community. And it's frustrating and hard to get them to come to a meeting and say, this is what we want. I mean, a fifth of the people who are designated to be on our committee they're empty seats. They won't come and talk to us. They go to the framework committee and it's contentious. They're looking for a seat at the table, but the law never gave them a seat at the table. So they're almost not heard for that reason. That's a very frustrating piece too. I hope, Stacey, that's what you're talking about is
I'm sorry.
They're in an argument with Harvard and Ayer. They don't have a seat at the table because no one thought about it, because no one lived in Devon's then. It was transient military personnel.
Right. So how does Devon's run their little government, or don't they?
They don't.
There's
because they're part.
So it's a complex answer. I will answer it in 30 seconds and I will stop. And anyone who wants to talk about this, call me. Mass Development offers the underlying services. Police is state police, fire is through Devon's Fire Department, water and electricity are not paid. They are paid for by the residents. They don't get charged what it costs. They get charged what they get paid, what they get charged. Schools is contracted to Harvard right now, and that's a big pressure on Harvard.
Wow.
Because we add 300 students to Devon's, Harvard's got to build a school. And what happens if Harvard's in a situation where their population is declining? Why would they build a school? Think about it, right? Harvard doesn't have wastewater treatment the way we do here. There's just barriers to expansion all over the place. And then there's the colloquialism of the three towns. And something on the other side of it is we have super town meetings, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. The towns finally got together and said yes to building a medical professional building and a elderly a house
Senior
for
housing?
senior. Thank you. And so obviously I'm passionate about this, but we got all these little things going on, and to have the governor, who someone I've supported and I think they do a decent job, basically say, well, just build all the houses we can on Devon's, that solves my problem. It's just really, taking a big stick and hitting a hornet's nest that's already been upset.
Well, I know that our town has been in touch with her in reference to the affordable aspect of housing, accessory apartments, things that we, as a small community with no public sewers, we can see ourselves doing, and the answer is always no. No. We're not like Boston, but we have to be like Boston.
Yeah, and that's probably the number one unique feature of Ayer. We built a wastewater treatment plant back in the 70s, and with water conservation that happened in the 70s, 80s, 90s into the thousands, and now that plant was built for washing machines that use 55 gallons of water, toilets that flush 7 gallons. My washing machine uses 4 gallons. My toilet uses a gallon in a day. So we've got capacity, and Devon's has capacity, and that is a huge difference. And we have neighboring towns who want to connect to us. I actually think, and Stacy, go like this with your ears. I think we'll start doing that, because connect fees and charging other towns does a lot of things. Like, it's crazy, but just over the border into the town south of us, they put in 26 units where they could put in more, but they had to put in a septic system. To which I point out to people, that septic system sits on our aquifer.
Yeah.
And they go, no, it doesn't. I go, yeah, it does. And just because you won't let them put in 150 yards of pipe,
Yeah.
what's the deal?
Yeah. We don't have a lot of business people in that end, so they don't think that way. Anyway, I don't want to, we're on the same page. I think we all can see that. So, does somebody else raise their hand? Glenn, did you raise your hand?
Yes, thank you. Just very briefly. So I'm going to advise that there are 3 ways to respond to this issue. And on the 3rd paragraph on your screen, the first sentence, the bill had a hearing this week before the Joint Committee on Economic Development and Emerging Technologies. The website says the testimony is due right after the hearing, but I know, this is Leah Robbins speaking, but I know they're still reading letters and interested in hearing more about different sections, i.e. these 2 sections that are here below. So I would recommend 3 things. I would recommend for all of you to consider, as a resident, as an individual human being with the freedom of expression in the United States of America, feel free to write a letter. I say that because if you write it to this committee and CC your relevant rep and senator, I remember Ann Goby, when she was senator, saying, you know what, Glenn, when I got 5 phone calls or 5 emails on a piece of legislation, that meant I had to pay attention to it. So imagine if 5 people in this room sent a letter to this committee and CC'd their respective reps and senators. It raises the flag a little bit. Secondly, it takes more time, but if your relevant planning boards, committees, housing committees, pick a name of a local committee or board or commission. If you send a letter on your letterhead, which takes a little longer because you have to meet, run it up the flagpole, then do that. Thirdly, MRPC can write something, but we shouldn't do something with my signature alone now, either appoint a committee, get me some data, and I'll do it for your approval for the June 6th meeting, but we can go on record also. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Okay, that's a good idea. Can you highlight this or just send this, cut and paste just this section and send it to all the commissioners? So they have this, like, just this in front of them instead of wading through a whole bunch of papers. And then
We can have this
per the
email forwarded.
discussion that we had this evening, hopefully we can do it ourselves, or we can go back to our planning boards or, you know, our board of selectmen or whoever and get them to sign on this as well. Because
You got it.
honestly, I heard this, but I didn't hear everything that was going on, you know, here individually. So we're done with this report for now. We'll leave it at that. We'll all get a copy and we'll do our own thing. Can you scroll down to what is
Yeah.
next?
Peter has his hand up.
Yes, Peter.
Yeah. Right. I don't want to carry on much longer, but I mean, Glenn's last point there, I think collectively it would mean something if we collectively, as a commission weighed in on this at some point. And I'm not exactly sure how. I think the key takeaway for me is this is moving way too fast. That's the sort of thing where more time needs to be spent engaging with people at the local level to get input on what the consequences are going to be and how how to shape this going forward. So I think something to that effect would be important.
Okay. I agree with you. And I think that Glenn got a good idea of some points to make in a letter, which we can all sign on to with our names and our towns, or whatever is decided, you know, at the June 6th meeting. How's that? Okay. And in the meantime, everybody will get back to you. Plus, you'll have the tape of tonight's meeting, I think, to get some points from. Okay. Thank you, Peter. So where are we here now? 7.23.
That's me still.
Okay. Well, we can hear you.
Thank you. So I have a question for Glenn. So I put this together before we got back our expression of interest reply, where we as an RPA can't apply on behalf of a town for a grant. So Royalston has to apply for the grant, but can we still use the DLTA for a match?
If
Because
the
we're
planning
doing,
commissioners say it's okay to do so, then the answer would be yes.
because
And you have them in.
we're doing 4 master plan chapters for Royalston with DLTA money.
So let me, a point of information, Karen, did the commissioners already approve of the DLTA funds to be allocated to Royalston in this round for the master planning?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's already there. So it's already
Yeah.
there. Did you call me, sir? Well, we have to have a talk. So Karen, yes, if the funds have already been allocated toward Royalston or DLTA, it already sits there in a matching bucket. So as I read this, you would be well within our 4 corners of a warrant article to speak as a town meeting moderator, if you will. I think that would be valid, Karen. I don't think we have any problem here tonight.
Okay,
Okay?
so I just have to change the wording a little bit. So MRP, so we applied for an expression of interest to the One Stop program to get $150,000 for 5 master plan chapters so that we could complete Royalston's entire master plan. We can't apply now, but we are going to assist Royalston in applying for the One Stop. So the application requires a 10% match from the applicant or $15,000. We would like to use a portion of the DLTA 17 funding that the commission approved for the Royalston Master Plan chapters on March 7th as match for this One Stop for Growth Community Planning Grant application. In order to receive maximum points on the application, we would like to use 20,000 of DLTA 17 funding as a match. And the resolution says, Be it resolved that the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission approves of the Planning and Development Director's request to use $20,000 of the total DLTA award of $207,474 as matching funds against the One Stop for Growth Community Planning Grant application due by June 5th, 2024.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, so moved. Cunningham.
I'll second that, Tillotson.
Okay, thank you. Discussion. Any questions? Hearing none. I think that was good. Kayla, can you take a vote? Roll call
Alan
vote, please.
Pease,
Aye.
Amanda Reed,
Aye.
Amber Labonte,
Aye.
Jeff Tillotson,
Tillotson, aye.
Christopher Monroe,
Aye.
Laura Schifrin,
Laura Schifrin, aye.
Mary Jo Bohart,
Aye.
Peter Cunningham,
Cunningham, aye.
Rick Ward,
Who's near the train?
I'm an adjunct, alternate
Yes.
member.
Guy left the meeting.
Aye.
Yeah, thank you. Robert Schwartz,
Bob Schwartz, aye.
Roger Hoyt,
Roger Hoyt, aye.
Stacy Donahue.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Karen. Do you go on? Transit and
I believe-
transportation between that.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, I can give a quick update on transportation. I just wanted to make a quick mention of two documents we have out for public comment. Those are the federal fiscal year 2025 through 29 Transportation Improvement Program and the FFY 2025 Unified Planning Work Program. These were sent out for a 21-day public comment by the MPO at their April meeting. So the comment period actually ends tomorrow, May 10th, at close of business tomorrow. So you can access both draft documents on our website under announcements. And if there's any trouble accessing them, reach out to me and I can give you a hand with that. And you can make a comment via email as well. Again, the comment period for both those documents ends tomorrow at close of business. So I just wanted to make mention of those. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. So that brings us to 8, new business. I don't have anything to present to you. Does anybody else have anything to mention? Hearing and seeing none. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:33 p.m.
Tillotson, so moved.
Thought maybe you wanted to stay for a while. Okay.
Cunningham, second.
Cunningham, second. Okay. If there's no objection, I won't have Kayla take the roll. Seeing no objection, we are adjourned, and I thank you all very much. Very
Stay
important.
with
Good night,
Laura.
all.
Yep, see you in the
Thank
studio.
you.
Clock.
See you all. Thank you, guys.